Do you want to do a motion for?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I mean, motion, we accept Dave's absence is excused.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any additions, deletions to tonight's agenda?
No, staff.
Anyone having any conflict of interest over any business that may occur at tonight's meeting? No, for me also. Any correspondence?
None for staff.
Public comment. Any member or resident of the district that would like to comment on items not listed on the agenda? We need to look at that. If it's any property owner or resident of the district. Okay. Consent agenda, which would be our regular board meeting minutes from December 14th, 2022.
I just want to point out at the end of the minutes on page 12, it just when we go into executive session, we didn't vote, and so therefore it's now in public record executive session. So people, the public and public can request it through a quorum. A lot, it's really long.
Have to read it a couple times after, just to make sure. There's a lot of different resolution numbers.
Yeah, well, that's true. And
You're saying, Christine, if we could go back, you're
Oh.
saying that there was no vote taken to,
go into executive session, therefore it's open to public.
well, it says here that I motioned and you seconded.
No, at the very, it's far down.
Page 12. at the
Oh,
very end.
I'm on the wrong page. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think that's what's going on with the order. Because I didn't know we had to vote on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some process about posting it to be that it's confidential and voting. There's a couple statutes that it's allowed to go under voting that it matches with the statute.
Well, according to the statutes, any board member can request any executive session at any time. Yes, I did make the mistake of not having a vote to actually adjourn the regular meeting and go to an executive session. Which it doesn't say that I did, so.
But I would think that's not walking to executive session. We went right down. So
Yeah.
we didn't want to do it. We should have sat here and stayed there. Yes. But I'm just trying to
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, even the topic, is not allowed under executive. So. Board duties. That is not an executive session privilege. So even if we went into it legally by voting, it would still probably be open.
But I did call it under personnel issue, which I think that could be argued either way.
Technically, no, it's only employees like.
Like I said, I would debate that.
It's not,
I'd want to know
it's
that.
not debatable.
How do you know?
It's like called SCA,
Okay,
and they have, I sent it to you, I emailed you the executive session summary from SCA. Specifically says in there that talking about problem board members is not allowed. General personnel issues, not allowed. It has to be about a specific person.
Okay.
And that person has to be named, and that person has the option of having it in an open meeting. So none of that was fine.
okay. The only reason that it was done was to save anybody any embarrassment. There was no malice behind it. So you've got the recording, you can go as public as you want with it. There's nothing on there to be, for any of us to be ashamed of. And nothing was said that was out of line, so have at it. Anyway, I motion that we accept the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
I got a question.
Oh.
Sure,
I'd like to
sure.
listen to the recording. I was under the impression that we were in executive when we talked about saving us. So I guess since we're playing that, I would like to hear it before I give a vote, because I don't remember everything said, and I don't remember anything else. So I'm just curious why, but I won't go there.
Yeah, we can, the recording's available. If it wants to come.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to hear, just so I can try to write everything down, and see what's going on. Oh, pardon. I don't know what I have to do on that.
Well, yeah.
Executive order, I don't know if I can call and say,
No,
yeah, I like to hear it.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to find out what's.
yeah.
Under other, I guess you might press that.
Yeah, you can, just by asking.
Yeah,
You can make the request to, we can release it to you. That's.
This can get it.
So what we're voting on now is that the minutes do state exactly how everything happened. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Chief's report.
All right, I'll hit on a couple items. When we're done, I'm gonna call in, we did the report to James Vincent. They got caught in the whole flight stuff, sure folks today, so they got hung up in that, so Dominic's gonna pick up that, but unfortunately not here, but I want to thank them personally for the help over the last year. We had quite a few staff members. We had Sarah, that was kind of our primary point of contact person throughout the portion of the year, Sarah Simonton, and then Dominic Pelosa has taken over. But Ben and Gabe as the principals have really helped out a lot of stuff to kind of get things in line for us. So and even as we wrapped up at the end of the year, just from the timing for our board meeting where it fell the end of the year on the 14th, on the 15th, we were due to do our filings to get that done with the county. So we hustled through that, and they were able to get everything formatted properly and done, and we got that filed on time on the 15th. Even with just some staff that changed last year, that even our passwords and logins and all the things there were connected with old staff. So we got it all done and got that done in time. Thanks to that. Our goal of filing for the budget due before the end of the month, it's basically all done. We've done through just review of the budget message and some of those things to make sure that everything's accurate. So that's ready to be filed from there. And then I'll pass around and share. I know it's hard to read, but we've been in the last phases over the last couple of days of Dominic getting all of our chart of accounts updated as we talked about that, being something kind of needed to get help cleaned up throughout the year. So the new budget had everything loaded under the new chart of accounts that would go with 2023. So all of the kind of 6-digit codes or the three digit codes that we used before for everything. They've all been recategorized under what we believe would be the proper place for those based off the new budget items and where we actually loaded the money in the budget relative to what we spent money on before that. So that's all loaded now. We've got almost all that stuff caught up in bill.com or the bill payment system. So the nice thing about Bill is it kind of learns as you're going along and categorizes things. But what that means for us now is it's going to be a little slow start as it tries to auto assign those to the old chart of accounts. We'll do those manually and catch those if a couple slip through. As far as QuickBooks is concerned, the old charts have been killed and they roll up to their mother account or the parent account. So anything that's in there will be reported when we do the reporting starting next month with the new chart accounts now. So I thank you for helping out with that. We've got a new career firefighter that started, JL Morgan, just started with us on Monday. So we're going through a couple weeks of kind of onboarding training with her. She comes to us as a part-timer from Windsor, but was a part-timer with PFA and a wildland site before that. So EMS background with ambulance. So local, live in Bellevue. So going through a couple of weeks of in-house kind of onboarding training, Monday through Friday type stuff, catching up with the crews and getting a chance to go through that. She's got a firefighter one and IT and some of the other backgrounds from there. So looking forward to bringing her on board. Nice to have her on board. We had a open career recruitment process that's going to just close on Sunday, and we're going through all the application stuff right now. Michelle came yesterday from it's been helping us with some of our HR stuff and help us with personal files and stuff. Spent a little bit of time in there yesterday with us, going through and getting all the applications lined up for us, helping finish getting all the last of the stuff out for the pension stuff. So got all the files put together, and we're just reviewing everybody now so we can get started on that. We've got one firefighter vacancy right now with two folks that are in final hiring processes with two with local fire agencies. So just kind of waiting to hear the word on those for local firefighter positions. And then starting last week, we kicked off the first of the 10 Delphs along with some of our officer corps and some of our other staff worked on putting together a training calendar for the 2023 year. So we're continue to build all the content for that. So January was all built out, kicked that off last week. So we're in week 2 now of that. So all the crews are kind of working on the same stuff on a weekly basis to kind of train on that. So it's pretty exciting to get that. So most of the staff are working to develop the content that's going in that, so that we can kind of build off of that throughout the year. And then just some kind of rough numbers. We finished off the year. We submitted everything and upload everything through and first to the state so that we have some actual data that's coming out of that. I just got the first report on that, but I don't have a 2021 report to compare it against. So I'm using just used our raw ERS data that we have there, but we did 2021 was 1,133 calls. This year as we finished off the year with 1,135 calls. So 2 more calls than last year. We were trending behind all the way up until the start of December, but the numbers break down relatively close from call types, call incidents, a little bit higher on fire calls, all type fire calls this year than previous year, and just a little bit lower on EMS calls. So but other than that, the call types broke down pretty clear on that. So, and then I'll just share this around. One of the things that we'll do, this is the new chart of accounts as we get it, working on with staff, because different staff has responsibility for different programs and authorization to initiate purchases depending or push requisitions through. Some takes care of uniforms, PPE, and other stuff. So just making sure we share all this across with everybody and they get a chance to know what the new chart of account codes are as we do requisition forms. And then we'll have a clean version of this once we're all done, and we can just kind of post up and share with everybody so that that's what the charts are that we use. So, any other questions from anybody on items we talked about?
Apply for election.
So we have not think that there's a calendar in there, and I have meant to talk about that. So I have been working with Kurt from Special District Solutions. So we've worked through the self-nomination form. The DEO can distribute that now, but we don't do our call for elections until January 22nd, if I remember right. So the website, everything, if you remember what we had done on the website last time, I've gone back in that, it's in the background. I've rebuilt all the pages for that and changed all the dates and updated all that. So we'll bring the website live when we can do the call for nominations. So we went through, reviewed all that information and it's ready to post. So he can distribute them. He's been, I think he's maybe had one request, not sure. So, but all that information is now ready to go that, and then we'll post that on our website. The last thing they have to do is, that goes along with that is our transparency notice filed by the 15th. So it's all done. All that information's in there. And then we just have to distribute it out to all the places. Yeah, yeah. So, and it has some information on last year's revenue numbers and some of that, and then it talks about the board positions and the levy and some of those. So it goes along with that. It gets posted out to all of the treasurer, the assessor, like the town of Wellington will get a copy. Yes, we post on our website. It's posted on division of local government, some of those things. So it's all done. I just have had JVG have it ready to send them. Just put one more set of eyes on before I file it all tomorrow and send it. And that's kind of it for that. But we've been in communications back and forth with Kurt on all the information there. So the last thing I had before I kick it off is Captain D, you got some numbers ready there?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got some.
Captain had it, had kind of put together some numbers and kind of did a quick close out on the year from the fire prevention side, permits, inspections, and that type of thing. So I'll let you throw some numbers out there.
All right.
Room allow before I kick it over to.
Okay, thank you.
So,
I was trying to backpedal a little bit. One of my reports didn't print. but
Yeah. How it goes.
I was gonna give you an update on just permits, revenue and inspections. My inspection report did not print as I wanted to, so I'll have to follow up on that, but finish up with the year with just under 100 permits, which is a pretty good busy year, and that's a wide range of areas that we do permitting on, anywhere from building, new building construction, battery systems, burn permits, fire alarms, mobile food trucks, operational permits, special events, tenant finishes, anything that's within our fee schedule that requires review. So with that, we finished up the year with we've collected just under 81,000 in revenue on the bureau side. And we still have, it looks like, about 4,400 out for billing yet. I was hoping to have a number of inspections for you, but unfortunately I don't have that, so.
Put it together, maybe just put it together and I can add it into the board packet.
Yeah.
For the next one.
Yes. Great, thank you.
Thanks, Deb. That. It's not that.
Okay, district business, first up is monthly financial report.
Call in real quick to Dominic from JVG. Good afternoon, Don. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Fortuner. Close with Jim's Densing Group. Going to present the monthly financial statements for this. You should have a guide in front. Starting with the budget. Revenue for the month was $50,025, which was under budget by $121,458. I know that sounds a little bit kind of whack, but please keep in mind that we need the mini budget. We budgeted for wildland revenue of $150,000. On that same meeting, there was $150,000 in wildland expenses. If that we did not have wildland appointments this year, that's true for the side. So the main driver of the budget was the wildland budget by $150,000. That was partially offset. Over budget for the month by $2,562. Moving on to the expenses for the month, we have expenses of $272,995, which again was $8,541. The main driver our operation expenses, which wildland expenses were in there, was under budget by $150,000. So when you kind of factor that out, we're really quite in line with our expenses. Moving on to tab fiscal year, January to December, the revenue was $3,459,081, which was under budget by $26,165. Driving there was wildland expenses. Factor that out. Next, what we budgeted, a couple key areas such as property tax revenue, service fees, and specific ownership type taxes. Moving on to the year-to-date expenses, those were $3,052,958, which happy to say was under budget by $200,427. We factor out the wildland expenses, we're still under budget based on what we the amended budget set by about $50,000. So that was good news. That concludes my report for the month. Happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to see the Sage Homes liability corrected based on what we've waived for impact fees so far this year. To see how much we have left as of December. That makes sense.
And well,
Yeah,
and what we need to talk about too, there's, because there, and I'm trying to remember how we showed on there too, if we're showing both liabilities or the total liability. Yeah, because we have them separate on that. So I pulled all the reports I get on a monthly basis, Dom, from the town. So I'll just have to kind of extrapolate those out. They don't come in a spreadsheet form for me. So we'll work on putting those all out so that we can see the specific waivers that were issued with those, and then the dollar amount that goes to those for all of 2022.
gotcha. Yeah, next month, we'll get those liabilities done. See that.
So in order to see it, will you just put it in the December report and then give us a new December report, or are you gonna put it in the Jan? How are you gonna do it?
So I think our have the liability reflected in. Obviously, we have to put those revenues and liabilities back into December, but we can show you an update that liability where you can see it, but all the corresponding income statement items we had to post in December for purposes of the audit. But once we get that update, we can give you a report that shows you kind of the offset of what that looks like.
Yeah, oh yeah, seeing it in the January report is fine. That's perfect. And then also the LOC fee of $17.50. I was just thinking it'd be better to put it under where all the debt service, where all the money for our debt service interest goes. So it's just all together. What are your thoughts?
We had a discussion and all that so between Gabe and Ben on that, talking about how we kind of where we loaded the budget, right? We, in a sense, we loaded the budget under fees for banking fees or any other financial fees on that. And then looking at the interest part being kind of the interest. So whether we want to separate, because we do get fees in other places that we'll call them banking fees or other, and like this one, the transaction fee for that, for the processing fee of that, as opposed to the interest of it. So I think it's kind of, we can kind of split hairs about where we might think it might go better, but then there's also a piece about where we loaded in the budget to kind of offset the cost of
Way over
those. So
budget and banking fees. So that's why I think maybe it shouldn't go in there, because there's only $500 worth of budgeted amount.
yeah,
And there's more money in the debt service.
in the debt service, and it may be, and this is part we talked about, we can see where I think as far as what we estimated, and the longer we go without having to draw on that, we won't draw as many of those debt service fees that we think of, or the interest payments. So I think we kind of talked about it back and forth. Dom, what's your thoughts, or what did you guys hear?
Yeah, talking to business decisions, he wants to kind of keep category. So he really wants to stand on, understood that there was not a big budget for that. And as you said, going on this fiscal year, we hope that those expenses are gonna be low, right? We're not gonna be using the line as much, and for purposes of, given that December of 2022 is already happened, we want to keep that in the fees, because we will continue to do that into this fiscal year.
Question, so when we take money from our LLC, are they gonna charge us another fee each time?
No, the only thing and just based on history, there was no other transaction fees that went along with that. It just, whatever interest was accrued during that period. And so we did it in the past because our operating is in the other accounts in the other bank, would be to make a request for a cashier's check for whatever that amount would be, a $25,000 draw, $50,000 draw, and then take that, get cashier's check, of which there was no other fee added to that, and then deposit it in the operating bank account. And then we made the payments, we have the payment statements on that. We just paid them from the operating account to the payment statement for the line items.
Which is the interest rate.
Yeah, correct.
And then, what are your thoughts, Dom, about the property tax? I forgot, I think it's under license and permits versus, treasurer's fee, or I don't.
Yeah.
We've never really paid property tax.
Yeah,
You know.
it was a little different this time, just because of the first year and the transaction of the Highway 1 property and that, and I think there might still be some potential for some other exemption, maybe do have. I don't know, we've got to follow through with that. That's the first piece of property we acquired in a long time. And initially came through, then we put in paperwork back for an exemption, because we charged us all the property tax first, and then they made the adjustments to that. And there's still a bit of property tax, so I'm not sure what, we don't really pay any other property taxes on the other items. So that's the part we need to just kind of figure out, if there might be, we may need to submit some other documentation that they want to see to get it fully exempt. So I'm not sure. This is kind of the first time that came across, and there was some other potential interest fees or other things if we didn't pay it by that certain time. So just try to pay it, hopefully get it sorted out. If they said it's not a huge amount against us, but we'd like to get it credited or fixed if we need to.
So we might get it credited.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I just
Because
wondered.
we haven't paid any, and we haven't budgeted for any, and it was like, wait.
Where does this, I was wondering Dom's perspective on where it should go, because it is an interesting tax fee. Cool.
Yeah, so I think we're still kind of talking about something we could get back to what they're doing on that.
No problem. And then, just a side note, the employers council that you and I have been talking about, bill.com, just thank you so much for that information. It makes sense that if we're under contract, it goes under subscription, but the one-time charges goes under the professional fees. I think both bills are under the same account, so if you could just check that and put one into the other account, it'd be great.
Yeah, I think, switch. Split between 70, 50, 70. I'll do that right now.
And that's another we keep an eye on before, because we used to lump them under, they kind of all fell under one thing before, and the way we set it up now is as we do new employees, background checks and those kind of things, or the work that they do for us doesn't fall under just our general contract services for that. But then we've also done some, like our HR services falling under that feed in that, so kind of falling into different categories.
Yeah, no.
And again, how we budget going forward, how much money we think goes into one or the other.
Right. And me learning where they now go is, thank you very much for helping me out there, Don. Appreciate it. I guess I have a question for Chief. We have a lot of places that go over budget, but membership is funny because it went over budget, but we have nothing budgeted under membership. So that I understand for audit purposes, we have to put it under, even though we have nothing budgeted there.
Membership fees or member, did you?
I know there's two.
Yeah.
Membership has zero budgets, but we put stuff in there, so it's fine. I understand why we got over budget. There's nothing budgeted. Had a question about the medical training that we went over budget for. What did we do?
Did we?
We went over budget in medical training.
Yeah, what do we do?
Oh, yeah, why did we go over budget?
Oh, I'd have to look into it. I think it's, this year, I know we did, I'd have to look and see what those all break down to. But, we did, CPR, like more, maybe we may just have more CPR subscriptions, and so we had to do that. We also, pay some of the fees for, some of the recertification stuff. So I have to look down and see what those line items are. And all that stuff is it's an estimate about some of those things that we're gonna pay subscriptions for, pay fees for and that, so. Do our best to estimate what those items are when we go into the budget planning cycle for that and track it as we go along.
And so then, your meal with the doctor,
Mhm.
that just
That was kind of,
about.
yeah, so we went, so we, with, Dr. Tremblay is our medical director. And I had invited him up, when we changed through and didn't have an on-staff medical. We had a EMS captain before to kind of help coordinate some of that stuff for us. But we do, in-house, we do our EMT recertification, so UCL delivers some online training for us, but we can do the skills checks that go along with those that have to be done on a regular basis. Plus, there's some other advanced skill things that we've been looking at, so IV certification and some of those things that the medical director, we work under the medical director's license and through their authority. And so we had a meeting to go over what we can do to expand that scope of practice, what we can do internally, what the medical director has to receive from us to be able to do that. So just invited him up, met him at lunch across the street, and went over and did our meeting through there, and then we did another tour here. It had been over a year since I had a chance to meet with him since I came in position, and so just had some stuff that was standing for a little while. So
Help with medical training. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
mhm.
That's all I have.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay,
Move to adopt the financial report for December.
we have a second.
Philip Myers,
Yeah, go with.
sorry first. Yeah.
People hold out for a big one. Okay, all those in favor, aye? Opposed? Motion carries.
Hey, Don, would you mind hanging on just for a minute for the next one? I don't know if I have any questions. I think hopefully we can handle the audit engagement. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the discussion and possible action for FY 2022 financial audit engagement letter.
So I didn't prepare a staff report for this, but in the packet, you'll see it's our page 28 of the packet, but it's the audit engagement letter from Haney and Company. And I'll just give a quick little update. So especially for the new board members, this is with this audit engagement letter, Haney and Company, this would be the third year that they've done the audit for us. Historically, when you go back, Anton Collins Mitchell, I think, is who did it for us for many years before. And one of the challenges really is that there's very few firms to be able to do the work, much like we see with the election firms. And so one of the things is that getting into their calendar, getting into their engagement. So we historically, so it was before I came at ACM, got bought out, changed partnerships, bigger company, and so the district, if you guys correct me wrong, but then we're kind of put in position to chase down and find somebody new to do that work, and we're able to engage with Haney, but that put it into later into the cycle, so that we almost started with having a filing extension to even get started on that work. So the fact now that they've done it for us, they came in really late to do that and really just got the first one done for us. Last year was the time that they had a little bit more time to spend on working on the audit for us, but they also had a little bit of changeover with some staff, with people that came back and struggling to get enough staff. So with this, you'll see a couple of notes that they did, that we are looking at an increase in the fee, the total cost for that, not to exceed $20,000. Or last year it was set at 15,000 or 16,500. And so they cited a couple things, and Director Gator reached out and they sent some information, shared some information with us, but I'm just being able to acquire staff, having enough staff to do that, the time, the total complexity of the audit and some of that type to what they had anticipated, some additional time and cost to do that. So they are also the firm that's doing for a few of the other districts within our district, within our region, that also have that James Vincent's been working with. So I believe it's, if I remember right, in Donnie might know for sure, but I think it's both Windsor and Berthoud. You guys are doing both ends for them. Amy's doing the audits, and you guys are doing the financial work.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Both Windsor, Berthoud, yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so with that, we're hoping that the board will approve and authorize us to get onto the books, onto the calendar with them, and get time to get that done again with them next week. So the only action really would be if the board just want to do, it would be a motion to do it, to authorize the president to execute the.
So what I asked from them was how much time it took them and how much time is included in this proposal. So for did their work for last year, 2022, they spent 123.9 hours on our engagement for a total of 18,000. So they had to write off almost 2,000 because it was not to exceed 16.5 for us. So and I got a letter from her, if you'd like me to read it. Taking total time last year, so the 123, which gives us 18,000 is what they should be charging us, because that's what they spent. Plus 10% across the board increase in our fees, largely due to increased costs and staffing salaries, results in a 20K fee for this year. So that's why it went up from 16,500 to 20,000. That's what I got from auditors. And so my only question is it normal for them to start, they don't begin their audit till May?
No, that's gonna, I think that that's their when they're gonna be on site here.
We expect to begin our audit in May.
Yeah, and I think that's that. And I think we'll find out for sure that I think that is how they had blocked it before, when they were actually here on site to do that. So I'll ask about that. And again, what they end up doing is they have time blocks that they're doing with all their clients. So at different times. So they did
Start sooner than May, but that's just when they're coming to our physical location.
And they may just be working, and that's some of the back work they did to get everything ready to go. Then they'll come onto the physical site and then do the on-site. One of the things that we're looking forward to this year with assistance to that is the fact that we've migrated to bill.com. And I know we only kind of got it part of the time, but there's an ability to share a lot of that information. And so all of for instance, all the work that we're doing to scan all the bills, all the invoices, all those things, the full audit trail of who approved them and signed form and when they got paid, all that lives in there, and that the JVG can share that to the audit firms when they're looking to pull that information. And so when they do their random audit checks of certain things, instead of them being on site and giving, randomly pulling a list of stuff and then asking for us to go get it for them and go find the checks, find the invoices, find the payments, find the bank statements, and put all that together. And hopefully from electronic piece, that'll streamline a little bit of, especially the staff work side of that. Yeah, well, I guess what we can do is, if staff's good with this, then we will, or if the board approves this, then getting the audit engagement letter back to them and kind of getting a better idea of timeline and kind of have steps and processes. And I know JVG has one to do in their audit prep piece as well, so they get them ahead of time to start working.
It's the going rate. The town of Wellington also got a proposal for 20,000. They got two proposals. One of them was for 20,000. So
Yeah, we knew at the beginning that it was going to take a couple of years for them to feel it out and see exactly what you would be charged each year. So we must be to that point.
Yeah.
Okay. So if someone would like to make a motion. State what your question is.
Motion to accept the audit.
Engagement.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Don.
I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay, item 3, discussion and possible action. 2023 sworn wage scale adoption.
Okay,
Page
Yeah.
33.
33, President Pettit and rest of the board, the final packet. So, what we put together was, when we worked on the 2023 proposed operating budget, one of the things that was factored in was approximately $40,000 total compensation for wage and wage associated benefits that were directly tied to wage, as an increase. So, JVG had put together a proposal, just kind of show, or two proposed wage scales for us, showing what, based off of what we understood our current adopted wage scale to be, which would be a 2% across the board for the firefighters, fire engineers, and lieutenants, or and what I'd asked them for was to look at another option, because I was aware that there was an earlier approval for a lieutenant only wage increase back in 2021. So they did another one which looked at taking that same amount and putting it for just for firefighters and fire engineers. So back in March of 2021, the board was, or back in March of 2020, the board was presented with a proposal that looked at doing a increase of the wages for lieutenants to adopt a wage scale that moved from 75,000 a year to 78,000 with a top step of 88,000, and it had a wage scale, sliding wage scale that went with that. The action that the board took was to approve the wage scale to go from 75 to 78, but for only 78, and then to have it be revisited in 2022 to look at any additional increases after that. So that represented approximately 4% wage increase for the lieutenants at that time, but there was no wage increases for the firefighters and fire engineers during that time. And looking backwards, I couldn't find anything back through even through the beginning of 2020 where there was no changes in wages for that. So with an effort to fact that the budget that we approve now reflects the ability to do the $40,000 in there. I looked at the current wage scale, which is what we've been working, paying folks off of, which I understand is the wage scale we're working off of. And then proposing putting the 3% wage scale right now so that we can, if the board approves it, we can make it effective with this pay period going forward for the firefighters and fire engineers.
Wow.
Yeah,
Great.
we factored it into the budget. So all we need really is the board to just prove that it's factored in based off of this, and would change that wage scale for our firefighters and fire engineers going forward. And so what you have in front of you then is the current wage scale, and then page 35 shows the proposed wage scale, which would include a 3% increase for firefighters and fire engineer positions along the continuum of the years of service fees for that. So. And one of the challenges, at least just talking to staff too, is that it seems like wages have been adjusted or approved without really coming through open meetings, coming to the board, different positions, got new wages, people got raises at different times that fit in the budget or was supposed to fit in the budget, but really wasn't done in open meetings in front of the board, so the board could look at and say, you know, I'm telling you, and JVG is telling you that we've done these numbers, we've run these numbers, and we're asking the board to support that wage scale based off of what the budget has been approved at. So staff really at times didn't know why some people were at this pay rate and others were at others, and it wasn't really clear based off of that. And so I continue to work towards something that's more open, that everybody knows what it is, that we shared, and anyone can look at it any time in their continuum of their years of service. And if we add additional requirements by certifications or qualifications that tie into those that as we're proposing those to that those get adopted and get brought forward so that everybody sees that. So with the board's recommendation and approval, that's what I'm recommending is that the proposed wage scale with a 3% for firefighters and fire engineers to get approved so that we can move that forward.
The YIP.
Years in position. Yeah. So for instance, a brand new firefighter that's starting is going to start at our 50, proposed to be 51.5, and after they hit 1 year in position, after 1 year anniversary, then they move to the next scale. And often, other times, some things will go along with those as far as maybe some other qualifications or things. No, any other questions? I'm happy to.
So the increase will only affect the firefighters and the engineers, not the lieutenants.
Currently, that's correct, yes. And again, like anything else, we and as kind of the closing piece of the staff recommendation part, the fourth paragraph, I guess, in the executive summary really is that we know that our personnel, if we continue to trend below market average for that, we're looking for any opportunity we can to try to help those out, but we also recognize there's other associated costs and we have other liabilities we have to take care of, but especially in a year like we saw last year where things have gone up so much, the fact that we haven't been able to do any adjustment, especially for the firefighters and fire engineers in multiple years. Even the lieutenants, it was identified as a need because it's challenging to keep recruitment at that level. So while they did get a raise, we still recognize that they need one as well, but looking at what we can do right now with what we have. And identifying maybe some other opportunities to do that as we continue to perform well from the budgetary perspective and can address some of the other things. There's opportunities to do that. So.
I talked to the firefighter president of the union, and he said that the firefighter would prefer what is recommended, the 3%. So. Great.
And there was, and I'll admit, I talked to a lot of lieutenants, and they recognize, they got some a couple of years ago, and they know that they're behind the market as well, but there's the vast majority of them recognize that while they did get a raise a couple of years ago, that nobody else got one since then. So it's really trying to help out their fellow firefighters that didn't get an opportunity a couple of years ago, and doesn't go without being noticed and recognized.
So any other discussion? I make a motion that we follow the staff recommendation and increase firefighter and fire engineer wages by 3%. This will exclude the the lieutenants, I'm sorry, exclude the lieutenants at this time. And that it become retroactive as of January 1st. Can we do that?
I would do it. We have a pay period that just started on Sunday, so we're in
Okay.
a current pay period. So if we're okay with
Yeah.
that, then it wouldn't cost us to have to do any other payroll corrections.
Okay.
But if we could
You
do it,
just add it to their payroll, the additional amount from
Um,
January 1st.
We might kind of create it.
Might be nice.
well, and I guess the only thing we could do that, we could figure out a retroactive.
Let
I-
payroll specialists handle
Yeah,
that, but-
yeah.
But that would cross.
Our pay period started, the pay period we're in right now started January 8th.
Okay,
I'd say just let's start at January 8th.
and the previous one probably straddled the 2
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the best that we can do.
So if we do January 8th,
Mhm.
we'll do that pay period start date. Okay. Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 4. regular board and pension meeting calendar and designated notice of meetings. Posting location is for 2023.
So you'll see on page 36, this is really just it's a statutory requirement for us to do that at the beginning of each year. I know we went over the calendar last year and the board adopted to approve that, but really basically what we're looking at is, and during COVID and with some changes that happened, we allowed our website to be designated as our official posting location. And this location, Station 16, the administrative offices to be the posting location. Alternate, or if we have an issue where the website is down and we can't post that, then this has been our designated location. So it's really just a process of the board to go through and to make a motion, kind of as the bottom on there, just to adopt our district's website again as the official posting location. And the alternative one to the calendar that's attached as the approved calendar for 2023. And then there still falls in any need to change those, there's still statutes that allow us to change those and change the dates.
Do we need to state that this location, physical location in the event that website isn't available? Do that in our motion as well?
You could, I guess. I think I don't see any reason one or the other. We do have we did it through formal resolution. We did it so the first place to adopt electronic meeting posting, but
Also during the resolution.
so yeah, and so each year we have to renew that in the first meeting of the year. So
Okay, so I motion to adopt the district's official website as the official designated notice of meeting location for 2023. In addition, the motion will approve the presented calendar for the 2023 regular board of directors and volunteer pension board meetings.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you. And then after that, just I included and I to throw it in the other stuff. This is just the election calendar as presented by the DEO as far as where the election set. So it's not part of our meeting, but I kind of caught on the back of it just so I have record on those are kind of the dates and times and stuff.
Okay. Calendar.
No, there was one, so the one last item, was that at the tail end of last meeting, you'd asked for a session item to just have the bylaws, the written copy of the bylaws included in the packet for a discussion. This is, and I apologize because the sign, I couldn't find where I have the meeting minutes where we adopted this, but I couldn't find the signed copy wherever I scanned it and uploaded it somewhere in the living world somewhere. So I didn't go back and pull the hard copy of the folder. We have this this is what was in the meeting packet, the meeting packet that was adopted in May last year.
Well, probably the best way to handle this is like we always have when we pass with any other policies and that's everybody has a hard copy. We usually take until the next meeting to go through and personally each person review it themselves. Make any notations of anything that they think might need to be adjusted or updated. And then we'll come back in February and discuss and combine everybody's take on it. Is anytime this type of process comes up, it takes a few months for it to be fair to everyone. So everybody's been presented with it. We'll table then till next month. Changes to be made.
And I know that we, just from staff perspective, part of the objective of the board over the last year was to try to have it reviewed, some edits, whatever edits done, come back, present for legal, and then present and adopted before the election process happened, so that if there was changes to that, another board would have that, but I think it's up to the boards to, this will be good for the board to discuss the next one, whether you have new amended ones in place before a new board, or whether that's something another board wants to undertake when they first sit in, so those are definitely up for the board consideration.
And I think overall, last time we went over this, it was very good and very basic, but I think that's been what, when was that?
Well, we did it, we did it, it was adopted in May, right before, or April, maybe it was April right before the election. I think it was either April or May right before the, and then, but it was, I think, I feel like we had started on it around this time, because I didn't
Right.
get here a couple months.
Right.
And it went through a few meetings and, review from legal counsel, and then it got adopted.
Right, so I just think that there's a few areas that we.
Oh, it says like 11/22, so that might be, yeah, I think that's what, I think we had one that we had a couple more changes or something that came up right before that, and then it actually got voted and adopted at that meeting on the 11th, so.
And I think with bylaws, it's always something that's growing and evolving, and it's probably good for future reference to every year, maybe even hit it and go through it.
And the adjustments that were made prior did allow it to just be one reading of the adoption.
Right.
It didn't take multiple readings of that to have that.
We don't want to drag it out for 6 months. Okay, that's all that I was, if everybody comes, that will work. Okay.
So suggested edits, suggestions for discussion in February.
Right. I don't think it'd do any good for to bring us to bring them to you, or you change between now and then. I'll do it. You got enough on your.
Yeah, I mean,
And I don't, I
Yeah.
don't think we're looking at rewriting the whole process.
yeah, just discussion, whatever, and then whatever consensus comes out of it, then we can bring back an edited copy.
Okay. So let's motion on that we table the further discussion on the board bylaws until February's meeting. Do I have a second? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8. Okay, other. Jason? Christine?
Yeah, I was told by Director Pearson that there's an annual performance review of chief in January. But obviously this is our January meeting, so it's not happening, so I'm just wondering, one, when it's gonna happen and what that process looks like. This is my first time doing it. How do you guys normally do it?
We normally have a generalized form. Over the years, we've looked for the perfect format, and it just seems that there's one out there. But we have kind of adopted a little bit over the years, a general format. And the way that we have done it in the past is that each board member basically does their own assessment in our off time, and then we come back together, compare notes. And then we usually appoint a 2-person committee to meet with the chief and break down everything. again. Am I correct? So,
I can send you the blank.
and I think I have the old one, but not.
I don't know if I would have it or not, in
Yeah.
any of our stuff, because I don't think. Okay.
So do we do an executive session altogether to discuss it at the next meeting? Like we write it down
Yeah.
ourselves and then we discuss it?
No, we can't do, no, it's gotta be done in open meeting.
No, not sure. It's an executive session. Honest with you.
If. I think you should check with council. I
Yeah,
don't think you can do it in executive session.
Yeah, with the chief, it is different.
There's
No.
part of it, there's a piece of, so I think like we did the contract stuff, like we met that in executive session, and then what came back out in the open session was the other part of it. So there, I think there's a portion that does happen in executive session, and not having gone through it, but I know there is a part of that that happens in executive session. And so,
So we do this with the town, we just did ours. It would be at the chief's discretion if it happens in executive session. So if the chief wants it done in an open meeting, you absolutely have to do it in an open meeting. So for example, for the town, we only have 3 employees that directly report to the board. That's the town administrator, town attorney, and the judge. So for those 3 people, if there's ever an employee issue, that is what we can go into executive session for. And so we did our reviews, we went into executive session, both the town attorney and the town administrator wanted it in executive session. We had our discussion, talked with them there, they were present, so they got to hear everything, and then it was done. So obviously follow up with your lawyer, but that is the clause in executive session for employee related, is specifically for your direct report, which would be the chief.
Yeah.
So it's again up to the chief. If he wants an open meeting, it's an open meeting.
And then once we get done with that, then we do, at the same time that we meet with the chief, whoever meets with the chief, then they'll do a contract. Because your contract should be ready to renew.
it's, yeah, I think the way it's written is it's 1 year at a time in January, February, or something like that. And look at it, so yeah, it's a year.
Yeah.
A year at a time.
After the review, yeah, and then that's, an item on here. I was wondering, the next item, can we send out mailers or maybe an ad in the newspaper about the election? Letting people know, I don't know what we did last year, but how do we get the word out?
So once we do the call for nomination, then what we did was we opened up the website, so using our website, so then from there. We could direct socials or do through socials, just to social media stuff through either our Facebook, Twitter, and push it that way, that the information about the website is on there. We will do a posting. We have to do that will be the call for election that it's posted in the local paper on the after the 22nd. I think that's I have to look at the date for sure, but it sounds like that's about the right date. That's when we, the district, can do the call for nominations, open that up. So before then, we don't advertise for it, but it can start with the designated election official, people making the request to get the it's just not gonna stick in my brain, the self-nomination form, self-nomination form. Yeah, so then we can post it. So we also partnered with was it Main Street or Chamber? Because the town had stuff going on at the same time. So we kind of piggybacked on a couple of those that I think it was Main Street, I think, or somebody else that was doing stuff because of those others. So they also did some advertisement stuff with us, because we were just a month behind the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The other question is, let's see, according to the Colorado statute,
For pay?
this is just for what we're allowed to do as a district. It says we're allowed to fix from time to time increase or decrease fees and charges for number 1, ambulance and emergency medical services. And then 3 is inspections, which I think we already did. We already have fees for inspections, but I don't think we have fees for ambulance and emergency medical services. I just wanted to know what your guys' thoughts were, since we're allowed to, and that doesn't need a voter approval.
Well, that's because usually help us all transport services. We can't bill something we don't do.
Well, no, it says services provided prior to the arrival of ambulance.
right.
So when they come and start working,
understand.
we can bill them for
Right.
that.
And this topic has come up
Yeah.
years, I mean, for 20 years. I'm not exaggerating. what usually happens is that by the time we figure out how much we have to pay somebody to do the billing, and we have to have the amount of insurance that they deal with, the hours are amazing. We would never do that. It may be different, I doubt it, because a majority of payers are insurance, they're not private pay.
Right.
So, and whether some insurance companies don't pay for prior, on scene, some do, some don't. I'm just telling you that has been.
And as a kind of as an overall, what we do for service for our tax base, there's a catch of the. Yeah, where we're paying taxes to do the service in the first place. So where those bits fall in within that. So some places have kind of looked at those different things and making sure that they're billing for something that's on top of what they're already doing. So that's kind of where the ambulance transport stuff starts. So people, the bill that they pay is only, they don't pay for the ambulance to come to their house if they don't go to the hospital. If they go in the ambulance transport, then that's kind of above and beyond the base service that they're paying for from their taxes, and then they'll pay for that extra service on top of that. We've even explored, and some places are doing tying in like we have Interstate 25 that comes through here, and so the vehicle accidents that happen with that, but it comes to that same type of thing. So
Where we look at people that are
you've got
outside of the
it, yeah, if
district.
you don't live in the district, then we'll charge them for the extrication services. But what comes in with that is then having to set up a billing division within that, so that you can, and a lot of places do that. So a lot of places do that tied in with, but what has to happen to make sure that we're capturing that is then capturing all of the insurance information from the individuals. And for some of them it's there, but then it looks at the return, because you can bill, but it doesn't necessarily pay. And so how far down do you go where you decide, are we going to collections for that and using a collection service to do that, or we're just going to try and bill a couple billings, and if we don't get paid, then we just write it off. So
Because the last study that I recall reading showed only about a 30% actual return in the end.
30% of people pay.
Yeah.
So you said, okay.
and
Or that don't get, they get denied by their insurance or denied by Medicare, Medicaid, that type.
Yeah, Medicare won't pay, like, they won't, so, and that's a huge percentage.
Yeah.
So.
And I had just kind of more of a cursory discussion with the northern, we have the Northern Lerner, Northern Well Fire Chiefs group, and so I-25 cuts through all of us, and so we all get a share of that interstate accident response type thing. And so all of them, the BFA, Berthoud, Windsor, Front Range, they've all looked into that, and nobody's employed that billing right now. Just that it'd be different if we also did ambulance transport already. We'd have the billing structure that's already in place, and would be billing for all of the ambulance transports and adding this additional fee on. So PFA does some other stuff if they have a hazardous material spill or leak. They'll do some billing on that for the response and cleanup of that, but there's really not much they're doing any additional for ancillary billing for other services and capturing it in with their total tax base for service.
Well, thanks for
But it's definitely something for us to.
I mean, we're allowed to, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a structure. in that,
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The last thing is, I just want to share my view of the fiduciary responsibility to the district, and just because my view is different than your guys' view, doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean I'm disobeying the law. I just see that, working with the firefighters and trying to come to a compromise with them, make them happy, make us happy. I think that helps the district, it helps the people that we serve. When we have high turnover, that costs a lot of money to pay for the high turnover. We lose the experience of people being here for a long time. So having low turnover and lots of experience on our line staff, I see that as being fiscally responsible to our district and being able to serve our district to the best of its ability. So when I try to work with the union, I'm trying to find a compromise that makes us both happy so that we can serve the district to the best of our ability. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not going against the law. That's just my way of how I view it. And it's just a different view. And it's okay for us to disagree. I don't mind. But I'm just letting you guys know that it's not an illegal coup. It's just a different way of getting there.
Well, I know the union keeps coming up and I'm not sure why it is, because we have not recognized the union in terms of compensation. So, and I don't even know why the union should approach us with anything except the meet and greet or whatever we agreed on. So when we talk about the union, there really is no union that we have to or should recognize in terms of compensation. And that's collective bargaining. So I don't know why it keeps coming up, because there is no union. We have not recognized a union in any way other than the meet and greet, which was required by Senate Bill 52, which we proved. We proved it. We did what we were required to do. But in no way are we required to do anything in terms of recognize anybody with the union in terms of compensation. So I don't know why it keeps coming up. It shouldn't. There's no reason for it to. They have no standing officially with the district board, period. That's not my opinion. Unless I missed it at a meeting, I don't think the board recognized the union for collective bargaining. So, you know, we had a budget, we gave an increase, we did as much as we can. I'm not sure what we need to do with the union. I mean, you're free to talk to them. But I think by doing that, it may give them a sense of recognition. And it may sound cruel, but we don't recognize them. We haven't recognized them. And as I've stated before, I may be the only person in the whole association that has ever been a union member, so I know what it's like to be on that side coming to management. I was a union steward, so I know. And that's because they had officially recognized us and had no choice to talk to us. So I'm confused. I don't know why it continues to come up unless.
I got a question. I don't have a question. I have more of a. This would be more of an analysis. Is that Chief's here to run this station. We're here to watch over that. I'm not here to make sure everybody's getting a pay raise or anything like that. That's up to him. It's his business. That's like you going to a CEO and not going to your supervisor. That's his job. It's not my job. My job is to look at all these big numbers and go from there. So that's my opinion. I don't know what we're doing. We're jumping over, they're jumping over them.
Well, that's why we approved the budget, is to give.
You went through the budget. That's good. It's a
Right.
good thing to do. That's
Exactly.
good to me.
You're right.
I'm good with it. I don't need them to tell me. He needs to tell me. That's my opinion, of course, but. Yeah, I'm not trying to get in.
I think the only thing that I have to say is to please not misunderstand that a lot of what myself might say, or possibly another board member that has spent a lot of years on this board, a lot of it is meant as advice. And the rule with advice is you can take it or leave it. But it is not meant with ill intent or criticism or anything else. It's from years of learning how something may be perceived as being very innocent, but may then put you in an uncomfortable situation. And that's, again, my opinion and my advice. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for listening to my perspective. I appreciate it.
Any other? Okay. Calendar.
The only other thing I'll add is for I anticipate for the next board meeting is we have a draft. It's been kind of in process and I had it on the back burner a little bit, so taking them out is an update to the employee handbook. Employers Council went through that, made recommendations on things that are either statutes that have changed, other type of things, and then looked at other things, just some of the statements that were in there, one of the earlier ones was the members and board discussions and some other things like that. So there's some red line version of that. I've looked through that. What I anticipate is probably not giving you the entire red line version, because I think there's some of it that's pretty cut and dry that says, these state statutes should change. This should be in this area, that should do that. We'll make it, I'll put them that way. I can make an annotation as to where it was before, so you can see it without having to try to read the full red line version, but then give you a version back with recommendations on the updates. So there can be a discussion item going forward from that, and then hopefully within the next meeting or so, we can adopt the new version of that going for the next year. And so that'll be with the end of February board. Okay. And February 8th.
Yep.
So then we're gonna get the performance review and we're gonna have the
Okay.
executive session on the February.
I'll send you the one I have and Sue, if you'll send
Oh, yeah, I'll
when you have,
Okay.
I think they're,
And then
they might be the same.
And then I can distribute out as soon as I have it for you guys to look at. And then,
We're gonna put the executive session in the February.
yeah, we'll pull a different language for that and then confer with council that we've got the right part statement. And so we can,
And again, like I stated the other night, on the review, there's some questions on there that it's nearly impossible for you to answer. Because a lot of it has to do with the chief's interactions with the personnel. And we're not there looking over his shoulder all the time. So you kind of got to, I guess, dance around them a little bit. You'll have a basic knowledge. I mean, they haven't all quit or no one's just stormed in the building with torches and pitchforks, but so just keep that in mind when you hit those questions. Other than that, should be done. Do I have a motion to adjourn? All second. All those in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries at 5:21.
Nice short meeting.
Yeah, it's nice when they have the big